Hi, this is Mark Sutton, and today we're going to work on how to shape pizza dough. Now this is dough that I made in a bread machine earlier today, and if you wanted to make your dough earlier, you could put it in the refrigerator for, I don't know, 8 to 10, 12 hours maybe. I've done it for 2 days, and then let it come to room temperature before you start molding it for your pizza. You can also freeze your dough for a few weeks. Notice the dough's texture, let me bring it up to the camera here, is, as one Italian, second generation Italian tester told me once, it should be the texture of your earlobe. So here's a fine piece of dough, and we're going to use a 12-inch, 14-inch, lightly greased pan for this instead of a pizza stone. And we're going to compress the dough. This is always a hand job, if you will. And notice that I am rotating the dough in with my fingers and compressing at the same time. This is very important because I want to make the dough, a deeper texture throughout. And so now I'm going to start the actual shaping process. And this is where I'm using what I mentioned in my book as gravity as my good friend. I'm letting gravity pull the dough down. I will not be flipping this on my arms. Never did try that. I don't care to. And so I'm squeezing the dough with my right hand and turning it with my left hand, and letting the dough gradually get into a larger circumference in the process. And the dough will bunch up a little bit in the middle, but we'll take care of that in a second. There we go. Now we're getting pretty close to the shape we want. Again, a pizza doesn't have to be circular, rectangular, it can be amoeboid. For this particular demonstration, we're going to make it circular. So again, left hand is rotating, and the right hand is squeezing the dough. And you can see we're getting a larger and larger circle in the process. Circle disc. I'm not sure what the appropriate term is. And so now I'm going to press the dough on my cutting board, my pristine cutting board, rather than using a rolling pin. Some people will want to use a rolling pin with wax paper on top of the pizza to get a very thin crust. I'm not a thin crust kind of guy. I used to be. Notice that I'm pressing out as I go around the pizza, okay? Because there's still more dough in the center if you look at it from a cross-sectional way than there is on the outer parts of it. So I'm gradually pushing and squeezing down that dough to get it out to the outer perimeters. One of those things that I actually enjoy. It's good therapy. So now you can see I'm getting closer and closer to the size of my target pan, if you will. Okay, so here we go. And we're squeezing down and pressing down and trying to move the dough out more and more towards the periphery of the pizza. Now we'll pick it up, put it down, and then we'll do the same thing on this side. This helps compress both sides if you flip it over. Now this is about 1 pound of dough, which is sufficient for a 12 or 14-inch pizza, depending upon what your own pizza preferences are. You can make this a very thick 12-inch or a thinner 14-inch pizza. Notice that I'm always pressing down, compressing the dough in this process. And I'm getting closer to the size that I want. Okay. So now, we're going to put this down. Now we're on our pan. And the pan has been very, very lightly greased. The best way to do that is measure just a little bit of olive oil, or oil of choice, and then use a paper towel to spread it around. Using a pizza stone involves doing the same process on cornmeal on a pizza spatula, and then slide it in under your pre-cooked, preheated pizza stone. But we're not doing that. I like the simplicity of using these small pans. This pan, for what it's worth, was all of $1. I hate to say it, but it came from a big box store. Now I'm fine-tuning my dough. Notice that I'm still pushing down and directing the dough from the center out. The process is always directing from the center out, and I'm using my left hand to rotate the pan as I exhibit my type A behavior to get this dough perfectly fit into this pan. Now I'm using the heel of my hand to compress it down at the edges. So this dough could probably fit in a slightly larger pan, but it's going to be delightfully thick. I'm not sure what pizza it's going to be yet. What type of pizza, but we'll decide when we get there. I'm actually going to do something I don't do that often, but I've had to do recently for demonstrations. I'm going to pre-cook this pizza for about 10 to 15 minutes at 425, which will kind of fix the size of the pizza, slow down the yeasting process so that I can put it aside and work on my fillings. Normally by now I have the fillings prepared and would assemble the pizza, but I didn't do that this time. I'm thinking of a couple more demos of how to prepare the toppings. So notice I'm rotating the pan as I go, and I like to have a little bit of a well, if you will, around the side of the pizza so the crust kind of comes up to the sides here. Now the crust will shrink down. When you actually bake this, it'll shrink in this direction, these directions, if you will, depending upon the type of dough you're using. Some of the recipes, the dough will shrink about ½ inch. Some of them not much at all. Okay. Notice again, pressing down in the center and moving out to the outer sides of the pan. Just about done. And again, this is a test video. I forgot to time myself, so I'm assuming I've not hit my 10-minute limit at this point. But I wanted to give you all a good sense of how quick and easy it is to shape a pre-made pizza dough. And so now it's going to go in the oven, and we'll start working on some toppings. Oh, sorry, this is Mark Sutton, Heart Healthy Pizza, plant-based pizza with no oil.